gentlemen, what an amazing turnout today.
So when we met, you also told a very interesting story about, if I could take you back to before you got your current gig as CEO. And I thought it was really clever, and maybe it's just because I've got a recruitment background, but you did some research before you turned up to the interview where you got some credit card checks done or something along those lines, and some statistical analysis.
Yeah,
can you tell us a bit more about that?
Cost me a carton of 407 Penfolds, actually. I contacted someone that I knew had access to all the credit card data and credit card spend for our city, and could graph it over a period of years. And as I said, and there may have been a bit of a bribe of a carton of 407 in there. It was well worth it though. And it's quite fascinating. When you look at credit card spend in a city, if you ever watched a TV show like, ER or Grey's Anatomy or anything like that, it's like the heartbeat that you have on one of those monitors. Friday, what happens to credit card spend? Bang, it starts hitting. Saturdays, sort of still high. Sundays are starting peaking out. Sunday around about 1 o'clock starts really dropping off. Everyone starts getting depressed. Monday, there's a little bit of a hole, and then it starts building up again. So you'll see this heartbeat through it. And so I knew I had to be on my game. So Inika McMahon that's here, she was the one that was in charge of the recruitment for my position. I knew I had to come up with something quite special. And I was fascinated by that. Why does a city have to have a heartbeat of credit card spend? Wouldn't it be better if we actually flatline it, not to be dead, but flatline it up at the high level and start looking for ways that we could all collaborate and collectively work together? So that idea of that spend was quite fascinating. But when I was looking at it, what was even more fascinating was over a 3-year period, this heartbeat, and then there was this massive spike. And I thought, they've made a mistake. So I rang him up and I said, hey, just letting you know, that data that you released to federal governments and the media, there's an incredibly big mistake in it. And he went, thank you. But 2 days later, he came back and said, actually, that wasn't a mistake. That unusual spend took place. And I said, well, can you drill down a little bit more and tell me what happened in Brisbane for that time? He said, well, it was the NRL Magic Round. It was the first time it came. I thought, well, that seems unusual spend. He goes, yeah, that wasn't it. He said, that helped. But on the same weekend, by pure coincidence, the Heavy Vehicles Conference was on at the Brisbane Convention Centre. The Heavy Vehicles Conference is the world's second largest conference. It takes over South Brisbane, takes over parks. It is incredible. So you had these heavy vehicles, so Big Mac and Volvo, all of those people spending. You had the NRL Magic Round, all the teams, all the fans coming into the city. And not only that, at at Quargoma, you had the Marvel exhibition. So you had kids coming into the city, you had business people coming into the city, you had NRL fans, and it created this peak. The other day, I was speaking to Delaney, the head of Fox Sports, and I was trying to come up with a word. I totally screwed the pitch. And I called it an orgasm of spend. He just looked at me and went, this is awkward. But it was. It was this orgasm of spend, right? I can't believe I just said it again. So you're getting these images right now. But it really was. So what we need to be working on is how we actually start petering that out. How do we work together collectively to start saying, instead of those peaks, so I know there's another question coming, so I won't take it away, but we found a solution to that, and we're releasing the solution to that next Wednesday, and I can talk to that later.
Sounds good. The other thing that it was Tricia picked up on, that you talked about the secret sauce that Brisbane has compared to some of the other cities, and you kind of alluded to it earlier. And during our catch-up, you also mentioned that some of the credit card insights you got, and then later on, it served you well in the actual role when you put the two things together. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, sure. So put your hand up if you know a guy called Harvey Lister. If you don't know Harvey, he's an extraordinary business person. So he literally has control of Suncorp Stadium through ASM Global, Brisbane Convention Centre, he's got Boondall. He is a really extraordinary activator of this city. So when you look at things like Paul McCartney or Elton John as an example, yes, all the conventions, a lot of the business events, they work in partnership with Beta to start attracting international business events into the city. So we're the convention bureau as well for our region. And the idea was when I sat down with Harvey and I said, why can't we activate the city more? Why can't we have those peaks? And he looked at me and he sort of laughed. He said, this has been tried for 20 years where you get the activate. So we got Paul McCartney happening on Wednesday. I'll use that as an example. So imagine if you had Paul McCartney, you bought your ticket for Paul McCartney. Why can't you then be taken to another platform that says 3 to 7 days either side of that ticket if you're in a state or international or coming from the regions? Why can't you procure your experience throughout the city? And there was a simple answer, which I didn't realise, and Harvey alluded it to me. He said, well, Paul McCartney's not going to allow that to happen. Why would he allow his fame, his platform, to actually be used as a catalyst to create other people's wealth? You know, greater hotel stay, where's his cut? So ultimately, where we've worked towards was, we then had about a second or third coffee, and I said, what if Beta, Brisbane Economic Development Agency, becomes Switzerland? And we build the platform and we don't create any need for a clip. And so once that original ticket sale takes place, they get taken through to a platform and then it gets aggregated out for further spend with hotels, etc., and other opportunities. And he then laughed and he said, well, Ticketek and Ticketmaster will never do that. Qtix will never do that. Moshtix will never do it. So then I said, but we won't take a cut. 3 days later, he came back and said, they're in. So, and the reason being, no one had actually, and this is where collaboration is key, and this is our point. No one has actually said, we don't care about a clip. We actually care about the leveraging of this city to actually create an opportunity for this city for hotels and restaurants and parks and our builds and our business and our retail centres to actually flourish and altruistically get this uplift. So what we decided to do that, so it's ticking, and you'll probably find you might get an exclusive that may be happening next week, that launch. But more importantly, we also put together on that what I called the Better Brisbane Alliance. I thought, why aren't business leaders that have cross-sectoral influence, why aren't we all working together and choose 3 things that we need to do to change the value proposition of our city? Why don't we actually just simply lay down arms and agree that we meet 4 or 5 times a year, then put some subcommittees behind us instead of, and how many of us have been in meetings where we go to committees that it's just all bullshit, it's all, sorry, I didn't mean to swear, it's all just words, and we all look at each other and a white paper gets made at the end of it and it never goes anywhere, it goes in a bottom drawer. The idea of the Better Brisbane Alliance was, let's get really serious decision makers collaborating together and choose 3 things that will move the dial on, and then we go out and do them. So that example, we call that what I shared with you before, the You Want Fries with that concept. That happened out of that collaboration. It's got people like, you might know some of them, like Gert Yarn, who does the airport, Neil Stevens, who does the Port of Brisbane, Harvey Lister's on there, the Lord Mayor's on there, Cindy Hook, the head of the CEO of OCOG. People like Bernie Hogan, head of Queensland Hoteliers, Jen Williams, head of Property Council of Australia, all of them agreeing to collaborate together. And it's become this super group. So once again, I say to you, how do you collaborate together? Because once again, you start working with that collaboration and the city rises. In 12 months, all of those accolades are starting to come through because of that collaborative spirit.
Bloody awesome, mate. And all of that needs somebody to actually get it going, and that's you, mate. Well done. Well done, Anthony. Well done.